I didn't know that. That's
And
awesome.
yeah, we rock the tism hard in this house.
A lot of stimming in this house.
Oh yeah. And
Well, sorry.
Well,
He rocks the tism too.
you got a little bit of tism, dude.
I probably do. I don't know. I got undiagnosed ADHD. I know that.
You got it.
Yeah.
right. I mean, and that is part of like the family, the neurodivergent family, ADHD, autism and ADHD go hand in hand usually. Tourette's, yep. Wind it up.
You're bald.
But yeah, so autism and this month, every day in this house, just accepting the spectrum, and not two autisms are the same. Right. Everybody is different, and accepting, and a lot of autistic people spend a lot of time being taught how to be in the world, where I think that it should be a little bit more of the world learning to accept the different autistic behaviors. So, as I don't know if our viewers know, but our oldest son is autistic, and really, what was like the first kind of time that you realized maybe that he was?
Typically when you have your child and you start going to these doctor's appointments, there's always these milestones that they ask if they're reaching.
Yeah.
And one that Elias was consistently missing on was verbal milestones. How many words did they say this during this amount of time? And then that amount of time. And then
This is when he was really young?
Yeah. Really young. And then they'll also throw out there, well, he's a boy and boys are a little delayed. Cool. Yeah. We'll fast forward till 3 or 4 years old, probably three, almost 4.
Right.
And he would just do a lot of grunting, right? It was a lot of like grunting for things instead of like saying things.
So what were the first signs that you thought that he might be different?
It was just the speaking. Because honestly, like, because it's such a wide spectrum, it shows in so many different ways. Some people have a much easier time with their autism versus others. Famously, people probably have seen Love on the Spectrum. There's so many different kinds of people on that show. Some of them are a lot more functional or high functioning, whatever. I don't know if that's still PC, monikers or whatever that they use for that. But some of them are way more, they just have a much harder time in life than others. You know, a lot of those guys are dating, and some of them can even date non-neurodivergent people, autistic people.
Yeah.
Some of them date regular, quote unquote, regular people. Some of them date other autistic people, but it just shows in different ways. So with Elias, he was mainly just nonverbal.
Yeah. He had no words. He wasn't even saying mama or dad, daddy, dada, whatever. Like, there were no variations of milk, like anything like that. And those are like typical words that you're saying usually. And we were learning to sign, and he would, say please and, thank you, and he'd milk, but he never had any, like, he would, we finally taught him to point,
right?
But it was a lot of like noises, like verbal inflections, but never like a word like coming out.
Right.
And
honestly, even when we switched providers from Sharp to
so our first provider was Sharp, and we kind of like at one of his checkups just kind of mentioned like he doesn't talk yet. Like, do you think that he could be autistic, or, is this something to be concerned with? And that doctor immediately was like, no, there's no way. He makes such great eye contact.
A sign of whether someone's autistic is or not is whether they can make
eye contact. But again, not everybody is the same.
Exactly. That's so tricky, especially with younger kids.
But it was so quick. And then, life changed. We changed providers. We had Julius, and the first checkup that we had for Elias, at Kaiser, immediately that doctor was like, hold on, he doesn't talk yet.
They're like, he hasn't been diagnosed
We're
yet?
gonna go, yeah, we're gonna go immediately. Like set up appointments, and it was a whirlwind.
How old is he at that point?
3.
Yeah.
Did you guys do speech therapy and all that?
We
did all
did-
kinds of therapies.
yeah.
ABA,
Yeah.
occupational.
We did that too for Julian.
All kinds of stuff, you know. And
Yeah.
those things, by the way, did wonders.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I've learned with that was the sooner you kind of help your kids get the help that they need, I noticed the better off. I guess the further ahead I feel like they're gonna get the older, like as they grow. Because if we would have just let Elias just kind of free for all it, figure it out, see, you know,
Go
not-
through
not- not get
school, I don't
professional
know.
help,
Yeah.
I don't think he would be as far along as he is today, you know, if he didn't get that help. Because they help him with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Things that we wouldn't realize.
No.
Yeah. No, and because our ABA was in home, so they would come and we maxed those hours out. They were coming 5 hours a day, 5 days a
But
week.
here's the hard part. They charge you per visit. So if you're someone that really doesn't have enough money to do 5 days a week, max amount of hours per day.
Right.
That's not
Insurance
fair.
doesn't cover that?
That's not
Insurance
partially.
did cover it.
Ours did not. Not
We
for everybody
we had to pay a copay, and the copay was $25
each time.
and we were every day. So every day it was $25, which equaled out to $100 a week. But because of Easter seals covered our copay, and that's funding from the state of California. I'm not sure if that's federal funding or not, but that is something that we were able to take advantage of with that. And thankfully, and I mean, that helped us through, they came through the pandemic. They like all through 2020, we had amazing ABA therapists coming and helping us. And a lot of it was, I felt like, to teach us
also how to help him.
Yeah, how to help him. You know, they helped him with life skills they helped us being able to like cut his fingernails. They helped us potty train him. He was kind of like a loose cannon for a while.
He would throw himself on the ground. And
temper tantrums
do that
and
thing.
yeah, and ABA really helped us kind of like smooth it out for him. So, but he's a great kid. You know, we've been very lucky to have the community that we have. The school that he goes to is great. But he's a bright kid and he's amazing.
Sweetest kid.
Yeah,
Super sweet. I feel like watching him play with other kids. It's like it's kind of brutal sometimes because he's so they're so like I feel like they stay innocent a little bit longer with their autism, and I could tell with some kids like they automatically kind of like brush him off,
right.
kind of thing.
And he's so literal, and if that other kid is not like aware, and
which most of them are, almost none of them are.
He just, for the most part, and I ask him like, who's your best friend at school? And he's like, I like to be alone. Like,
dude.
we go to the park and immediately he's like, can we go home? I want to go relax.
But honestly, I feel bad because I feel like some of it is like he just knows kids won't play with him kind of thing.
Yeah. He's very specific on his special interests. He loves robots and transformers and anything mechanical, animatronic, you know, stuff like that. So
it's cool that they have a month dedicated for that.
Yeah. That's cool.
So what do they, I don't know, this month, what do they highlight? They just like to announce, I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's more, again, of the acceptance of autism. Because autism speaks used to be more about like changing your child to be verbal or whereas now it's autism acceptance. And so us learning, you know, as the neurotypical or, you know, understanding different ways of living or your brain functions or whatnot. So
okay.
but yeah,
That if people, I don't know, we're going through it too. So if anybody's listening, has questions, opinions,
Yeah.
I don't know, happy to share. We're not obviously professionals, but
Nah.
we can always share our
Yeah.
experiences.
What was the hardest part for you guys as parents when you made the realization that he was autistic?
For me, I didn't even know what autism was. I heard of it. I knew there was a month dedicated to it, but I didn't know what that entailed. It's kind of even a hard thing to explain specifically what it is.
Right.
I don't know. Like, I guess the hardest thing at first is just accepting your kid is different, because you always want just healthy, normal, quote unquote, kids. But once you kind of like, I don't know, once you kind of look on the bright side of things and realize like he's actually, he's gonna be all right. You know what I mean? Like you kind of go down the list of people that you realize certain celebrities are autistic. Dan Aykroyd, Ghostbusters guy, the Blues Brothers guy, he's autistic, a famous autistic person.
Yeah, a lot are.
Quentin Tarantino, autistic. Like some of these guys have almost like superpowers in a way. Like they can hyper focus on certain things that make them extraordinary. Those are just, prominent examples of that. But, it's possible. These people are can be capable of living totally normal lives.
Right. Elias definitely has that like engineer robotics.
Yeah.
You got to hone that at a young age and let them get good at it.
Right. And that's pretty much what it is. Versus Juju or Julius, our younger son, you could tell he's different. Like he's way more talkative, way more outgoing, way more like ahead on.
He likely isn't autistic, but he probably has ADHD, ADD, something like that.
If there's anything like I would say as far as like parents who don't have kids that are autistic, is maybe starting to try to tell their kids like to be a little bit more accepting and try to like be more inclusive in the sense of like trying to force, like not force, but like Elias is definitely way more receptive to like kids getting him to do stuff, because I think he's old enough now that he's afraid of that rejection now, so he doesn't try. He'd rather sit with us at the park and go play with the kids. So I feel like if kids were more like, come on, Elias, this and that, which I know is hard, they're kids. But I think that could be something that can be improved, I think, just across the parenting.
Right. Elias, I've always explained him more as like an indoor cat. He comes out when he wants to.
Yeah. Does he, at least what I see, and I could be wrong, he seems like he's a protector.
Yeah.
Well, he has a very strong sense of like justice, of like what he feels is like justified, or there's like no gray area. It's black or white. And so if he feels that something is wrong, somebody's picking on his brother or picking on him, or you can't do that, like he's very much the kid that's like, mom language, like he's a rule follower.